Imagine waking up tomorrow to find that your government has the power to freeze your bank account, set expiration dates on your money, or even control what you're allowed to buy, all with the click of a button. This isn't a dystopian fantasy. It's a potential reality with central bank digital currencies, commonly known as CBDCs. Today, we're diving deep into the world of CBDCs to uncover the truth. Are they a revolutionary step forward for society, or the beginning of financial tyranny? We've all heard the saying, cash is king, but why is that? Well, simply put, the physical money in your pocket belongs to you. You can spend it how you like, spend however much of it you like, and on whatever you fancy. No one needs to know about it. The only people who know about the transaction are the people giving and receiving the cash. Every time you buy something online or use your bank card in a store, the transaction is stored in a database. Not only is it traceable, but there's also a third party involved taking their little piece of every transaction. An easy way to compare cash transactions to digital transactions is this. You have $20 in your wallet, you go to the barber and pay him $20 for a haircut. Then the barber goes to the butcher's to buy $20 worth of meat. Then the butcher takes the $20 and pays his friend who's a plumber to fix his sink. Then the plumber goes to the barber's for a haircut, and the cycle continues. The $20 at the start is still $20 at the end. Now here's an example of a digital transaction. You have $20 for the barber, you tap your card on the machine, you pay $20, the barber receives $19.50 and a third party receives 50 cents. The barber then goes to the butcher and buys $19.50 worth of meat. Barber pays $19.50, butcher receives $19 and the third party receives his 50 cents. Butcher then pays his plumber $19 to fix the sink, plumber receives $18.50, and the third party leaves with his 50 cents again. The third party in these exchanges are usually the card companies or the companies that own the card readers. It's normal for them to charge anywhere from 1.5% to 3.5%. The $20 at the start of the example ended up being $18.50 just through 3 transactions. Keep the transactions going and the $20 soon disappears completely. Your money turns into less and less and every transaction was tracked, while the cash stayed the same, and only the people doing the transactions knew it happened. What's the problem with transactions being tracked? Well, let's start with the good part of transactions being traceable. It makes money harder to steal, easier to track where your spending is going, and paying with a card is a lot more convenient than carrying around a stack of cash. So then what's the downside? Now this is where a lot of people may lose interest as it goes down a bit of a conspiracy wormhole, but it's a possibility of where we may end up in the future, not exactly like banks have a history of being trustworthy. Just watch my video on the gold standard to learn more about that. But if all your money is only accessible as numbers on a screen through your banking app, then whoever owns the app has complete control of your spending power. A real-life example of this happened to me. I wanted to buy some cryptocurrency a few years ago, so I set up an account with an exchange and went to transfer the money, but it failed. Not only did it fail, but the bank also locked my account and told me to get in contact with them to gain access to my money again. Basically, even though it was my own money that I earned and paid taxes on, the bank I was with didn't like crypto, so refused any transactions toward any crypto exchange. For me, that wasn't a problem. My bank lost a customer and I set up a new bank account with a crypto-friendly bank. Now I know that it might not sound like a big deal. Crypto is a great place to lose money as it can be very volatile, but there has been other more extreme cases. In early 2022, Canadian truckers refused to get the COVID-19 vaccine and held peaceful demonstrations against the government mandate. Canadian citizens were out in force, supporting the truckers with food, water, and fuel. The demonstration went on for weeks with no ease. So, the government froze the bank accounts of all the truckers and anyone caught supporting them. Talk about tyranny.
Invoking this Emergencies Act, which has never been used before in the law's current form, it gives the federal government sweeping powers, including providing local police with federal law enforcement resources. On top of that, you can see the truckers are still here. It also gives the Canadian banks the ability to freeze bank accounts without a warrant of anyone participating in this road blockade, as well as anybody funding it. And if trucks are blocking the road, they can suspend the insurance of those truckers. On top of that, this will expand the scope of money laundering and terrorist financing laws.
So, what could this lead to? Who really knows? If cash disappears, the governments and banks could control your money to fit any agenda they see necessary. Maybe they could decide you've bought too much meat or too much fuel and you're having a negative effect on climate change. So now you can only buy vegetables and cycle everywhere. or you've bought too much alcohol, and now you can only buy water or soda. Even if the government has a completely peaceful and fair system put in place, it's still coming down to one thing: complete control and traceability of your hard-earned money. How would such a complex system even work, though? CBDCs would work the same as a cryptocurrency, except Bitcoin, for example, was designed with a borderless, decentralized control, meaning no single entity has control of how much Bitcoin is made or how much it's worth. CBDCs, on the other hand, would be controlled and monitored. So with crypto, you have complete freedom to send it and receive it however you like. With CBDCs, on the other hand, even though you'd have stability, you'd also have programmability, meaning there would be limits to how and where you could use it. There's been talks that there could even be expiration dates on your money, meaning you couldn't save it. You'd have to spend it or lose it. CBDCs would be issued the same way cash is today, except there would be no physical option, just simply numbers on a screen. It all sounds pretty crazy, but with cash use at an all-time low, most people's money is already just numbers on a screen. And with 65% of the US and around 49% of the UK already living paycheck to paycheck, money with an expiration date isn't an issue. How close is this to becoming a reality? Well, it's kind of already here. The People's Bank of China began testing its CBDCs in 2020, and now it's the first large-scale economy to be using a CBDC, calling it the digital yuan. Even homeless people have signs with QR codes where you can send them money since physical cash is no longer available. They've shown great speeds with transactions, and the transactions are also cheaper now they've cut out the middleman like we talked about earlier. But even China will admit the main reason they wanted to go down the road of CBDCs is for control. So when will it be heading west? The European Central Bank is now in its final development phase and is set to launch its pilot testing in 2027. The Bank of England say there has been no decision made of the introduction of the digital pound, but the current design phase will run through 2026. And in the US, President Trump just issued the Genius Act, so companies can make their own forms of digital currencies that have to be backed by a reserve of cash, but it also stops the Fed from making their own CBDC to prevent government control over individuals' transactions. Conclusion: only time will tell if CBDCs will come into play anytime soon in the West. Me personally, I don't think they're a good idea. I still use cash and have an emergency stack hidden away, and allowing big banks to have full control over every penny I make is a no-go for me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something new from this video and look forward to seeing you in the next one.